They call me the Ice Queen. I've heard the whispers in boardrooms at charity galas, in the hushed corners of every elite gathering I've ever attended. Vivian Sterling doesn't feel. Vivian Sterling doesn't love. Vivian Sterling is made of something colder than human flesh. They're not entirely wrong. I sit in my office on the 47th floor, watching the city sprawl beneath me like a circuit board of lives I'll never understand. The glass is cool against my palm. Everything is cool. That's how I prefer it. Warmth invites closeness. Closeness invites vulnerability. And vulnerability invites pain. My assistant knocked 5 minutes ago to tell me she was waiting in the lobby. Morgan Pierce. The name rolled off my assistant's tongue with something like admiration. Everyone admires Morgan Pierce these days. She's brilliant, ambitious, the kind of woman who walks into a room and makes the air feel lighter, warmer, alive. Everything I'm not. I told my assistant to send her up. Business, I said. There's always business to discuss. But I knew, even as the words left my lips, that this wasn't about business. Morgan Pierce adjusted the strap of her leather bag and smiled at the receptionist for the third time. She'd been waiting for 27 minutes. Not that she was counting. Miss Sterling will see you now, the receptionist finally announced, her voice carrying a note of awe that Morgan had grown accustomed to whenever Vivian's name was mentioned. The Ice Queen grants an audience. Morgan stood, smoothing the front of her burgundy dress. She'd chosen the color deliberately warm, rich, impossible to ignore. If Vivian Sterling was ice, Morgan intended to be the fire that melted her. Slowly, carefully, until nothing remained but water and memory. She walked down the hallway, her heels clicking against marble that probably cost more than most people's annual salary. The office was minimalist, cold, and beautiful, just like its owner. When she reached the door, Morgan paused. One breath. Two. Then she knocked. The door opened and she walked in. Morgan Pierce. I'd seen her before, of course. Who in this city hasn't? She's the kind of woman whose name appears in headlines for all the right reasons. Youngest executive at her firm. Philanthropist. Figure. Visionary. But seeing her in person was different. There's a warmth to her that I found myself resisting instinctively. The way she smiled. Not the polished, practiced smile of someone who knows they're being watched, but something genuine. Something that reached her amber eyes and made them glow like honey in sunlight. Miss Sterling, she said, extending her hand. Thank you for seeing me. I didn't take it immediately. I let the silence stretch, watched her expression for any sign of discomfort. There was none. She waited, patient, confident, as if she had all the time in the world. Finally, I stood and shook her hand. Her skin was warm. I pulled away too quickly. Please sit, I said, returning to my chair behind the desk. My assistant mentioned this was regarding the merger proposal. Morgan sat, crossing one leg over the other. Actually, I wanted to discuss something else entirely. Of course she did. There's a memory I keep locked away. A moment from 20 years ago when I was 7 and the world still felt soft enough to touch. A girl with curly hair and scraped knees had approached me at a park. She'd held out a dandelion, its seeds trembling in the wind. Make a wish, she'd said. I'll make one too and maybe they'll match. I'd looked at the flower, then at her, then back at the flower. Wishes don't come true, I'd said. They're just stories we tell ourselves to feel less alone. The girl's smile had faltered. She dropped the dandelion and walked away. I never saw her again. At least I don't think I did. Sometimes when I look at Morgan Pierce, I see something familiar in the set of her jaw, the determined tilt of her chin. But that's impossible. The girl from the park would be a stranger now. And I don't believe in coincidences. Morgan watched Vivian's expression carefully. There was a flicker of something, recognition, doubt, before the mask slid back into place. Good, Morgan thought. He felt something. Miss Sterling, Morgan said, leaning forward slightly. I know people say things about you. That you're cold, distant, that you don't let anyone in. Vivian's eyes narrowed. Is there a point to this conversation? The point is, Morgan continued, undeterred, I don't believe those things. I think you've built walls for a reason. And I think, maybe you don't have to keep them up forever. The silence that followed was thick enough to cut. Morgan could see the conflict in Vivian's eyes, the want warring with the fear, the loneliness buried beneath layers of practiced indifference. I have a meeting in 10 minutes, Vivian said, finally standing. Morgan stood too. Of course. But before you go. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small card. My number. In case you ever want to have coffee. No agenda. No merger. Just coffee. Vivian looked at the card. Didn't take it. Didn't refuse it. Just looked. Then she turned and walked to the window, her back to Morgan. Leave it on the desk. Morgan smiled. Progress. I heard the door close behind her. Only then did I allow myself to turn back. The card sat on my desk. White. Simple. Her name in elegant script. A phone number beneath it. No title. No company logo. Just Morgan. I should have thrown it away. I should have called my assistant and told her to screen all future calls from this woman. I should have done what I always do. Maintain the distance, preserve the cold, keep everyone at arm's length where they can't hurt me. Instead I picked up the card. The paper was smooth. Warm from her touch, maybe, or maybe that was just my imagination. I turned it over. On the back, in small handwriting, sometimes the coldest hearts remember how to beat. My throat tightened. I don't know why those words affected me. I don't know why I felt something crack just slightly somewhere deep inside my chest. I placed the card in my desk drawer. Not the trash. The drawer. Morgan walked out of the building and into the afternoon sun. Her friend Brooke was waiting by the curb, leaning against a taxi with 2 coffees in hand. Well? Brooke asked, handing over one of the cups. Did the ice queen melt even a little? Morgan took a sip, smiling. She didn't throw the card away. Brooke raised an eyebrow. That's it? That's your big win. She put it in her drawer, Brooke. Not the trash. The drawer. Morgan's smile widened. She's interested. She just doesn't know it yet. Brooke shook her head, half amused, half concerned. You know what they say about her, right? She doesn't love. She doesn't feel. You're wasting your time. Morgan looked back up at the 47th floor window. She couldn't see Vivian from here, but she imagined her standing there, watching the city, alone as always. Everyone feels something, Morgan said quietly. Even ice melts eventually. You're playing with fire, Mo. Then it's a good thing I'm not afraid of getting burned. That night, I went home to an empty apartment. My phone sat on the kitchen counter. The card sat in my wallet. I told myself I wouldn't. I told myself this was a line I wouldn't cross. But at 11:47 p.m., I found myself typing a message. 3 words. Simple. Safe. Coffee. Tomorrow. Noon. I hovered over the send button for a full minute. My finger trembled. I don't tremble. I'm not the kind of woman who trembles over text messages. I sent it. Then I turned off my phone and sat in the dark, listening to the silence of a life I'd built to keep everyone out. Somewhere in the city, Morgan Pierce was probably smiling. And for the first time in years, I found myself wondering if maybe, just maybe, I wanted to see that smile again. They call me the Ice Queen. But even ice has a melting point. And I'm beginning to think Morgan Pierce might be the one to find it. Whether that's a blessing or a curse. I suppose I'll find out. Coffee became a habit. That's what I tell myself anyway. It wasn't romance. It wasn't interest. It was simply routine. Morgan Pierce appeared at the cafe near my office every Tuesday and Thursday at noon, always ordering the same thing. Black coffee, no sugar, and a lemon tart she never finished. I told myself I only joined her because the cafe was convenient. Because the timing worked with my schedule. Because it would have been rude to ignore someone who had taken the time to reach out. Lies. All of it. The truth sat heavy in my chest every time I saw her walking toward me, that warm smile spreading across her face like sunlight breaking through winter clouds. The truth was that I looked forward to those moments more than I cared to admit. You came, she said today, standing as I approached the table. I said I would, I replied, removing my coat and sitting across from her. Morgan laughed. It was a rich sound, the kind that made other patrons glance in our direction. I know. But people say things they don't mean all the time. I thought maybe you'd be different. I'm not in the habit of making empty promises. Good. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her folded hands. Then promise me something else. Tell me one thing about yourself that no one else knows. I stared at her. That's not how this works. What is this, exactly? I had no answer for that. Because I didn't know what this was. Coffee between acquaintances? The beginning of something more dangerous? I couldn't tell anymore. Morgan watched Vivian's defenses shift. Not fall, never fall, but shift just enough to let a sliver of light through. It was progress. Slow, painstaking progress. She'd been keeping notes. Not written ones, of course. That would be too obvious. But she remembered everything. Vivian took her coffee black, no cream. She always sat with her back to the wall, facing the door. She checked her watch exactly 3 times during their meetings, never more, never less. She never talked about her family. She never talked about her past. Every detail was a piece of a puzzle Morgan was determined to solve. That night, Morgan met Brooke at their usual bar. The neon signs cast colorful shadows across Morgan's face as she recounted the day's encounter. She asked me about my work, Morgan said, swirling the ice in her glass. Actually listened. Most people just wait for their turn to talk. Brooke frowned. Emma, we need to talk about this. You've been seeing her for 2 months now. When does the game end? Morgan's smile faltered for just a moment. When I win. And what happens after you win? That's not important right now. It should be. Brooke leaned in, her voice dropping. I've seen the way you look at her. This isn't just about revenge anymore, is it? Morgan didn't answer. She didn't have to. Maya called me that evening. We'd been friends since childhood. She was the only person who had stuck around long enough to see past the ice. The only one who knew there was something human beneath the cold exterior. Most days I didn't deserve her loyalty. Vivi, we need to talk, she said, her voice tight with concern. It's Vivian, Maya. You know I don't like that nickname. Right. Sorry. There was a pause. I've been hearing things. About you and Morgan Pierce. My grip tightened on the phone. What things? People are talking. They say she's pursuing you. That this isn't genuine. Maya. My voice came out sharper than I intended. I'm a grown woman. I can make my own decisions about who I spend time with. I know you can. But Vivian, I know you. You don't let people in. Not easily. And she's very good at what she does. Too good. What is that supposed to mean? It means I'm worried about you. I've seen the way she looks at you. It's calculated. Like she's studying you, not seeing you. I wanted to defend Morgan. I wanted to tell Maya she was wrong, that Morgan was different, that she understood me in ways no one else ever had. But the words stuck in my throat. Because part of me wondered the same thing. I'll be careful, I said finally. Please be. You deserve someone who loves you for you, not for what they can gain from you. After I hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. Maya had never been wrong about people. Never. But Morgan felt different. When she looked at me, I felt seen. Known. Understood. Didn't I? Morgan stood outside Vivian's office building, watching the lights flicker on floor by floor as evening settled over the city. She knew which window was Vivian's. 47th floor, 3rd from the left. She'd been coming here every night for a week. Just standing. Just watching. Her phone buzzed. Brooke again. You're getting too deep. This was supposed to be simple. Get close, break her, walk away. Remember. Morgan silenced the phone. She remembered. Of course she remembered. That was the entire point. This was about making Vivian feel what Morgan had felt 20 years ago in that park. The rejection. The humiliation. The crushing weight of being dismissed like she was nothing. But somewhere along the way the lines had blurred. Morgan found herself noticing things she hadn't planned to notice. The way Vivian's fingers trembled when she was tired. The way she always ordered the same meal but never finished it. The way she looked out windows like she was searching for something she'd lost. These weren't details for a revenge plot. These were details for someone who cared. Morgan turned away from the building and walked into the night. She had a plan to execute. She couldn't afford to lose focus now. The rain started suddenly that Thursday. I had forgotten my umbrella. A rare oversight for someone who prided herself on preparation. I stood in the lobby of my building watching the downpour with mild frustration, calculating how long it would take to get to my car without completely soaking my clothes. Going my way? Morgan appeared beside me holding a large black umbrella. She was smiling, but there was something else in her eyes. Something I couldn't quite name. I have a car service coming, I said. In this weather? They'll be at least 20 minutes. She opened the umbrella and stepped closer. Come on. I parked around the corner. Let me walk you. I should have said no. I should have waited. I should have maintained the distance I'd spent years building. Instead, I stepped under the umbrella with her. We walked in silence for a few blocks. The rain drummed against the fabric above us, creating a private world beneath the canopy. Morgan held the umbrella tilted toward me, I noticed. Her left shoulder was getting wet while I stayed dry. "You're getting soaked," I said. "Worth it." The simplicity of her answer unsettled me. No agenda. No calculation. Just worth it. When we reached my car, I turned to thank her. But she was already looking at me, her expression soft in a way that made my breath catch. "Vivian," she said quietly. My name on her lips sounded different. Warmer. Like it belonged to someone who could be loved. "Yes." She reached out, her hand hovering near my face. I didn't move away. I should have. But I didn't. Her fingers brushed a raindrop from my cheek. The touch was gentle. Intimate. My heart hammered against my ribs, a traitorous rhythm I couldn't control. "I know you're afraid," she whispered. "But I'm not going anywhere." Then she stepped back, handed me the umbrella and walked away into the rain. I stood there for a long time, holding an umbrella I didn't need, watching her disappear into the gray afternoon. Morgan didn't look back. She couldn't. If she had, she might have seen the crack in Vivian's armor. She might have seen the vulnerability she was supposed to exploit. Instead, she walked until she reached her car, then sat in the driver's seat with her hands gripping the steering wheel. Her phone rang. "Brooke. Tell me you didn't just do what I think you did," Brooke said without greeting. I walked her to her car. In the rain? With the umbrella trick? Oh, that's straight out of the romance playbook. You're supposed to be cold, not? Not what? Not caring. There was silence on the other end. "I'm still on plan," Morgan said, though the words felt hollow even to her. "This is all part of making her trust me. Making her fall. And when she does?" Morgan closed her eyes. "Then I'll do what I came to do." But she didn't sound convinced. And Brooke heard it. "You're in trouble, Mo, real trouble. Because this stopped being about revenge a long time ago." Morgan hung up without responding. She drove home in silence, replaying the moment her fingers had touched Vivian's cheek. The way Vivian hadn't pulled away. The way her eyes had softened just for a second. This was dangerous. She knew it. But knowing something was dangerous had never stopped her before. That night I dreamed of the park. The girl with curly hair. The dandelion. The wish I'd refused to make. But this time when I looked at her face, it wasn't a stranger's. It was Morgan's. Amber eyes. Warm smile. Honey-highlighted curls catching the sunlight. "Make a wish," she said. "I'll make one too and maybe they'll match." "Wishes don't come true," I replied. "They're just stories we tell ourselves to feel less alone." "Then let me prove you wrong," she said. "Let me be the story that comes true." I woke before I could answer. My bedroom was dark. Silent. The kind of silence that had always comforted me now felt heavy. Oppressive. Like it was waiting for something to fill it. I reached for my phone. Scrolled to her contact. Her name glowed on the screen. Morgan Pierce. I typed a message. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. Finally I sent 3 words. "Thank you. For today." The response came immediately. "Anytime. Always." I set the phone down and stared at the ceiling until morning. Morgan received the text at 2:47 in the morning. She'd been awake, staring at her own ceiling, thinking about a woman who wasn't supposed to matter. He smiled at the screen. Then she opened her messages with Brooke. She texted me. At 3 a.m. Brooke's response was quick. "And you're telling me this isn't getting complicated?" "It's not. Mo, stop lying. To me and to yourself." Morgan put the phone down. She walked to her window and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, Vivian Sterling was probably looking at the same moon. Maybe thinking about her. Maybe feeling something. Morgan touched her own cheek, remembering the feel of Vivian's skin beneath her fingers. Warm. Real. Human. This was supposed to be simple. Find the Ice Queen. Make her feel. Make her fall. Then shatter her the way she'd shattered Morgan all those years ago. But Morgan was starting to wonder if she remembered that day correctly. If maybe she'd built a narrative around a moment that hadn't meant what she thought it meant. If maybe the girl in the park hadn't been cruel. Just scared. The thought terrified her. Because if Vivian wasn't the villain in this story, then Morgan was. I've spent my life building walls. Brick by brick. Moment by moment. Every rejection, every disappointment, every time someone chose to leave instead of stay, I added another layer. Another defense. Another reason to keep everyone at arm's length. Morgan Pierce walked up to those walls and didn't try to climb them. Didn't try to break them down. He just waited. Patient. Persistent. Unwavering. And somewhere along the way I stopped checking to see if she was still there. I started assuming she would be. That's dangerous. I know it is. Maya knows it. Probably even Morgan knows it. But when she looks at me, when she says my name, when she tilts an umbrella in the rain so I stay dry while she gets wet, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Hope. Maybe it's foolish. Maybe I'm walking straight into a trap I should see coming. Maybe Maya is right and everyone else is right and I'm the only one who doesn't understand what's happening. Or maybe the ice was never meant to last forever. Maybe some things are worth melting for. Morgan stood in front of her bathroom mirror, staring at her reflection. She looked tired. The kind of tired that sleep couldn't fix. The kind that came from carrying secrets too heavy for one person. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A reminder. 2 months since first meeting. Phase 1 complete. She'd written that note to herself at the beginning. A marker. A milestone. Proof that she was still on track. Now it felt like a tombstone. Morgan picked up the phone and deleted the reminder. She wasn't ready to admit what was happening. Not to Brooke. Not to herself. But something had shifted. The revenge that had fueled her for years was starting to feel like ashes in her mouth. Bitter. Empty. Wrong. She turned off the bathroom light and walked to her bedroom. Tomorrow she would see Vivian again. Tomorrow she would smile and pretend this was all part of a plan. Tomorrow she would lie. But tonight, for just a moment, she allowed herself to wonder what would happen if she told the truth. The next time I saw Morgan, she was waiting outside my office with 2 cups of coffee. I took a guess, she said, handing me one. Black, no sugar. You remembered. I remember everything about you. The honesty in her voice caught me off guard. There was no game in that moment. No strategy. Just truth laid bare between us. I took the coffee. Our fingers brushed. Neither of us pulled away immediately. Walk with me, she asked. I nodded. We walked through the city together, shoulders almost touching, sipping coffee in comfortable silence. People passed us. Cars drove by. The world continued its endless motion around us. But in that moment it felt like there was only her. Only me. Only this. Vivian, she said finally. Yes. Maybe. I could try. The words hung in the air between us. An invitation. A question. A beginning. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Saw the hope in her eyes. The vulnerability she was trying to hide. The fear that maybe I'd say no. My heart did something it hadn't done in years. It opened. Just a little. Just enough. Maybe, I said softly. We both could. Morgan's smile was like sunrise. And for the first time in my life I found myself looking forward to tomorrow. The ring sits on my vanity every night. A band of platinum, cold to the touch, set with a diamond that catches the light and fractures it into 1,000 tiny rainbows. I often find myself staring at it in the mirror's reflection, wondering when my life shifted from grayscale to technicolor. Morgan proposed on the rooftop of her building. It was cliché perhaps. The city skyline sprawling beneath us, the sunset painting the clouds in shades of bruised purple and gold. But in that moment, it felt like the only place in the world that existed. She didn't kneel. Morgan Pierce doesn't kneel. She stood before me, took my hands in hers, and looked at me with an intensity that made my knees weak. Vivian, she had said, her voice steady despite the wind whipping around us. I know you don't believe in fairy tales. I know you think love is a liability. But I'm asking you to bet on me. One time. Let me prove that not everyone leaves. I had said yes. I didn't hesitate. That should have been my first warning. I never hesitate. I analyze. I calculate. I assess risk. But with Morgan the calculus broke down. The risk felt worth it. The fear felt like excitement. Now 3 months later the wedding is days away. The house is filled with fabric swatches, floral arrangements, and guest lists that read like a registry of the city's elite. I should feel overwhelmed. Glad I feel light. For the first time in my life, the silence in my home doesn't feel empty. It feels expectant. But not everyone shares my joy. Maya requested lunch yesterday. She chose a small bistro downtown, far from the usual places we frequent. She looked tired when I arrived, her eyes shadowed with worry that deepened when she saw the engagement ring on my hand. "You're really doing this," she said, not touching her food. "Yes, Maya. We've discussed this. I've discussed this. You haven't listened." She leaned across the table, lowering her voice. "Vivian, I need you to hear me. I saw her. Last week. At that lounge near her office." My stomach tightened, but I kept my expression neutral. "And?" "She was with Brooke. Her friend." Maya's hands were trembling slightly. They were laughing. "I couldn't hear everything, but I heard your name. And I heard the word game." I set my fork down. The clink against the porcelain sounded too loud in the quiet booth. "Maya, stop. I'm serious." She was smiling like she'd won something. Like you were a prize she'd just unlocked. "Morgan loves me," I said, and the conviction in my own voice surprised me. "She has pursued me when everyone told her to stop. She has been patient when I pushed her away. She has seen me at my worst and stayed. Or she's been playing the long game," Maya countered, her voice rising. "You know how people talk about her. Ambitious. Ruthless. She takes what she wants and then she moves on. What happens when she gets what she wants, Vivi? What happens when the chase is over?" "The chase isn't over," I snapped, feeling a flare of defensiveness I couldn't control. "We're getting married. That's not a conquest, Maya. That's a commitment." "Is it?" Maya looked at me with such profound sadness that it made my chest ache. "Or is it the final level?" I stood up, grabbing my purse. I couldn't listen to this. I wouldn't. I love her. And I expect my best friend to respect that. "I respect you," Maya said softly as I turned to leave. "That's why I'm scared." I walked out into the sunlight, but I felt cold. Her words lodged themselves in the back of my mind, tiny splinters I couldn't quite reach. Game. Prize. Conquest. I pushed them down. I had to. Because if Maya was right, then I was a fool. And I refused to be a fool. Morgan sat in the back of the town car, scrolling through her messages. The wedding planner had sent over the final seating chart. Her name was next to Vivian's. Wife. The word still felt strange on her tongue, like a foreign currency she wasn't sure how to spend. Her phone buzzed. "Brooke. Final bachelorette party tonight. Don't forget the plan. Remember why we're doing this." Morgan stared at the screen. The guilt was a constant hum in the background of her life now, a low-frequency noise she had learned to ignore. She typed back a quick reply. "I know." He didn't know. Not anymore. When she looked at Vivian, she didn't see the cold girl from the park who had crushed a dandelion in her hand. She saw a woman who tried too hard to be perfect. Who worked too late. Who ate dinner alone more often than not. Who looked at Morgan like she was the only source of warmth in a freezing world. It was supposed to be satisfying. Breaking the ice queen. Watching her melt. But now that Vivian was melting, Morgan felt like she was drowning her. The car stopped. Brooke was waiting outside the club holding 2 cocktails. "You look like you're going to a funeral, not a party," Brooke said, handing her a drink. "I'm getting married in 4 days, Brooke. Maybe I should be nervous." "You should be victorious," Brooke corrected, clinking her glass against Morgan's. "Think about what you're winning. The sterling empire. The reputation. And the satisfaction of knowing she never saw it coming." Morgan took a sip. The alcohol burned her throat. "Yeah. The satisfaction." Inside, the music was loud enough to rattle her bones. Her friends were there, cheering, shouting congratulations. They raised their glasses for a toast. Brooke stood on a chair, grinning wildly. "To Morgan." Brooke shouted. "To the ultimate win." The crowd cheered. Morgan forced a smile, raising her glass. But across the room, near the coat check, she saw a flash of silver hair. Vivian. She wasn't supposed to be here. This was the bachelorette party. A no partners rule. Morgan's heart stopped. Vivian was standing in the shadows, holding a forgotten scarf she'd left in the car. She was looking directly at Morgan. Their eyes locked across the crowded room. Morgan saw the moment Vivian heard the toast. The ultimate win. He saw the confusion flicker in Vivian's eyes. The hesitation. Then Vivian looked down. She adjusted the scarf around her neck, turned around and walked out the door. Morgan lowered her glass. Her hands were shaking. "She didn't hear," Brooke said, leaning in close, her voice slurred. "She couldn't have. It's too loud." "She was there," Morgan whispered. "So, he loves you." She'll rationalize it. She always does. Morgan watched the door where Vivian had disappeared. She wanted to run after her. She wanted to scream the truth, to beg for forgiveness before the wedding even happened. Instead she took another drink. You're right, she lied. She loves me. I told myself it was the music. I told myself I misheard. The ultimate win. Could have meant anything. A business deal. A promotion. Something unrelated to me. But when I got home, I sat on the edge of our bed and stared at the empty space on Morgan's side of the nightstand. She wasn't home yet. He was out celebrating. With me. Without me. I pulled out a piece of stationery. I wanted to write her a letter. Something to give her in the morning before the ceremony. Something to tell her how much she meant to me since I was never good at saying it out loud. My dearest Morgan. I know I am not easy. I know I keep parts of myself hidden away, locked in rooms I'm afraid to open. But with you the locks feel different. They feel like they were waiting for your key. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'm capable of being the wife you deserve. But I promise you this, I will try. Every day I will try. You taught me that ice can burn. You taught me that coldness is just a shield for something that wants to be warm. Thank you for choosing me. Always, Vivian. I folded the letter and placed it in an envelope. I felt lighter after writing it, as if I had poured some of my excess hope onto the page so it wouldn't overflow in my chest. I checked the time. 2 a.m. Morgan still wasn't home. I turned off the lamp and lay in the dark, listening to the city breathe. I told myself she was just tired. I told myself she was fine. I told myself I was fine. But the splinters Maya had left in my mind were digging deeper. Morgan came home at 3. She smelled of alcohol and perfume that wasn't hers. She moved quietly, trying not to wake Vivian, but Vivian wasn't asleep. She was lying still, eyes open, watching the door. You're late, Vivian said softly. Party ran long, Morgan replied, her voice rough. She started unbuttoning her dress, keeping her back to Vivian. She couldn't look at her. Not after tonight. Not after seeing the hurt in Vivian's eyes at the club, even if Vivian hadn't said a word. Did you have fun? Yeah. Great. Morgan walked into the bathroom and closed the door. She leaned against the sink, staring at her reflection. She looked like a stranger. Her eyes were hollow. She pulled out her phone. She opened her notes app. There was a draft there written weeks ago. A confession. I lied. It was revenge. But I love you now. She highlighted the text. Her finger hovered over the delete key. If she sent this, the wedding would be off. Vivian would hate her. Maybe she should. Maybe Vivian deserved the truth before she walked down the aisle. But then she thought about the look on Brooke's face. Don't lose focus. She thought about the years of resentment she'd carried, the memory of the dandelion crushed underfoot. She pressed delete. The screen went blank. Morgan washed her face, splashed cold water on her skin and composed her mask. When she walked back into the bedroom, she was the fiancé again. The victor. The woman who had it all under control. She slipped into bed beside Vivian. Vivian didn't move away, but she didn't move closer either. They lay there, inches apart, separated by a canyon of secrets. Good night, Morgan, Vivian whispered. Good night, Vivian. Morgan closed her eyes and pretended she couldn't feel the tremor in Vivian's breathing. The morning of the wedding arrived with a sky so blue it looked painted. I stood in front of the mirror, letting the stylist adjust the train of my dress. It was white, of course. Traditional. Pure. A lie perhaps, but a beautiful one. My phone buzzed on the vanity. A message from Maya. It's not too late to stop. I love you. Please be careful. I turned the phone face down. I couldn't read it. Not today. Today was about commitment. Today was about believing in something better than the past. When it was time, I walked to the end of the aisle. The venue was a glass chapel overlooking the water, filled with people who mattered to us. To me they were blurs of color. There was only one person in focus. Morgan stood at the altar. She looked breathtaking in her suit, sharp and elegant. But as I walked toward her, step by step, I searched her face for the warmth I had grown accustomed to. She was smiling. It was a perfect smile. The kind you see in magazines. But her eyes were dry, distant. They looked at me, but I wasn't sure they saw me. I reached the altar. She took my hands. Her palms were sweating. You look beautiful, she whispered. So do you, I replied. The officiant began to speak. Words about love, about honor, about sickness and health. I repeated them without hesitation. I meant every syllable. When it was Morgan's turn, she paused. Just for a fraction of a second. A hesitation so small no one else would have noticed. But I noticed. I notice everything about her. I do, she said. The crowd cheered. Flowers were thrown. Confetti rained down like snow. I kissed my wife. She kissed me back. But as we walked back down the aisle hand in hand toward the life we had built, I felt a chill settle over my skin. It wasn't the air conditioning. It wasn't the nerves. It was the feeling that I had just signed a contract I hadn't fully read. Morgan squeezed my hand. Hard. Let's go home, Mrs. Pierce, she said. Mrs. Sterling, I corrected automatically. She laughed. It sounded sharp. Right, Sterling. For now. I stopped walking. What did you say? She looked at me, her smile widening, but it didn't reach those amber eyes. I said, let's go home, Vivian. The party is just starting. He pulled me forward. I followed. I had no choice. I had burned the bridges to my old life. I had alienated Maya. I had given everything to this woman. As we stepped into the limousine, I caught my reflection in the window. I looked radiant. Happy. In love. But behind the glass, in the dark tint of the window, I saw Morgan's reflection behind me. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at her phone. Typing a message. I leaned forward slightly, trying to read the screen in the reflection. Phase 1 complete. She's mine. The car door closed. The world went dark. I sat back in my seat, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself it was a trick of the light. I told myself love was enough to fix whatever was broken. But as the car drove away, carrying us toward our wedding night, I realized the ice hadn't melted. It had just been covered in snow. The reception was everything a wedding should be. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables draped in ivory silk. Guests laughed and danced and raised glasses in our honor. For one night, I allowed myself to believe I was worthy of this kind of celebration. Morgan held my hand through every toast. She smiled when they called us beautiful together. He kissed my cheek when the photographer asked us to look at the camera. He was perfect. Devoted. Loving. When she stood to give her speech, the room fell silent. She looked at me across the table, and for the first time all day, her eyes seemed genuine. Vivian, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the microphone. Before I met you, I thought love was a weakness. A liability. Something that made you vulnerable to pain. She paused and I felt my breath catch. You taught me that love is actually the bravest thing two people can choose. Thank you for choosing me. The room erupted in applause. I felt my cheeks warm, a rare blush that I couldn't suppress. Morgan caught the color rising in my face and smiled. That smile. The one that had melted years of ice. I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. When the reception ended, we were ushered into the waiting car. Our suite at the Grand Hotel had been decorated with rose petals and champagne. Thoughtful. Everything I had never allowed myself to dream of. Morgan closed the door behind us. The silence was sudden. Intimate. She turned to face me and I saw something in her expression I couldn't name. Anticipation. Triumph. Something darker. Vivian, she said, stepping closer. Tonight I want you to know, all of me. I nodded, unable to speak. My heart was racing. I had waited my entire life for this moment. Not the marriage. Not the ceremony. But the surrender. The act of trusting someone enough to let them see me completely. She reached for the buttons of my dress. Her fingers were steady. Mine were not. Morgan's hands trembled as she worked the buttons free. Not from nerves. From something else. Something she refused to name. This was it. The final act. The moment she had planned for years. The culmination of every sleepless night, every calculated encounter, every lie she'd told to get here. She should feel victorious. He should feel satisfied. Had she felt sick? Vivian stood before her in nothing but moonlight and vulnerability. Her silver hair fell over her shoulders like a waterfall of starlight. Her eyes were wide. Trusting. She trusts you, a voice whispered in Morgan's mind. He actually trusts you. Morgan pushed the voice away. She had come too far to turn back now. The revenge was too important. The satisfaction was too necessary. She kissed Vivian. Softly at first. Then harder. More desperate. Vivian responded with a hunger that surprised them both. She had spent so long being cold, being distant, being untouchable. But tonight she was melting. Completely. Utterly. Morgan guided her to the bed. Rose petals scattered beneath them. Champagne went untouched on the nightstand. When it was over, Vivian lay against her chest, breathing softly. Her hand rested over Morgan's heart. "I love you," Vivian whispered. "More than I ever thought possible." Morgan closed her eyes. This was the moment. The perfect moment. The moment she had imagined 1,000 times. She opened her mouth. And she laughed. The laugh was cold. But nothing like the warmth I had grown to love. I lifted my head to look at her. Morgan was smiling, but it wasn't the smile I knew. This was cruel. Triumphant. "What's funny?" asked my voice small. Morgan sat up, pulling away from me. The loss of her warmth felt like a physical blow. She reached for the robe on the chair and slipped it on. Then she turned to face me, her expression transformed. "You," she said simply. I didn't understand. "Me? Do you have any idea what you look like right now?" All that ice. Melted. For me. She laughed again, and this time it cut through me like glass. "You should have seen your face during the ceremony. Like you actually believed any of it." My stomach dropped. Believed what? Morgan stood and walked to the window. She looked out at the city, her back to me. This. All of this. The wedding. The pursuit. The love. She turned around and her eyes were hard. It was a game, Vivian. A challenge. Nothing more. The words didn't make sense. They floated in the air between us, meaningless syllables that my brain refused to process. Game. Remember the park? 20 years ago. Morgan's voice was casual. Conversational. Like she was discussing the weather. A girl offered you a dandelion. Asked you to make a wish together. You told her wishes don't come true. You crushed the flower and walked away. I remembered. Of course I remembered. It was one of the few childhood memories I hadn't buried. "That girl was me," Morgan continued. "And you dismissed me like I was nothing. Like my feelings were worthless." My hands began to shake. "Morgan, I was 7 years old. I didn't." "You didn't care," she finished. "And neither did I. Until I decided I would make you care. I would make you fall in love with me. I would make you need me. And then..." She smiled. "Then I would leave. Just like you left me." The room started spinning. I gripped the sheets to steady myself. This was revenge? Revenge. A challenge. Call it what you want. Morgan walked back to the bed and looked down at me. "Everyone said you were untouchable. The Ice Queen. Cold. Distant. I wanted to prove I could melt you. And I did." Tears burned behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not yet. Not in front of her. "How long?" My voice was barely a whisper. "How long have you been planning this?" "The coffee dates," I said slowly. "The rain. The proposal. The wedding." I looked up at her, searching for any sign that this was a joke. Yes. Anything. None of it was real. None of it. "What about?" I couldn't finish the sentence. I couldn't say the words. Morgan understood anyway. "The sex." She laughed. "That was the best part. Taking your virginity. Taking something no one else ever could." The great Vivian Sterling, brought to her knees by the one person who planned to destroy her. She leaned closer. "Poetic, don't you think?" I stopped breathing. Every touch. Every kiss. Every whispered promise. Every moment I had allowed myself to believe I was loved. All of it was a lie. A performance. A means to an end. Morgan straightened up and walked to the bathroom. "I'm sleeping in the other room tonight. Don't wait up." He paused at the door. "Oh, and Vivian, don't bother telling anyone. Who would believe you? The Ice Queen finally melted and now she's crying about it? They'll say you're unstable. Dramatic. Just like always." The bathroom door closed. I sat alone in the bed we had shared as husband and wife for exactly one night. The rose petals around me felt like mockery. The champagne bubbled uselessly in its glass. I looked down at my hands. They were trembling. Then slowly the tears came. Not the dignified tears I had allowed myself in private moments over the years. These were ugly. Desperate. Shattering. I cried until my throat was raw. Until my chest ached. until there was nothing left inside me but hollow emptiness. Somewhere in the suite, Morgan was probably smiling, probably celebrating, probably texting Brooke about her victory. And I was nothing. Morgan sat on the edge of the bathtub, her head in her hands. She had done it. She had won. She had broken the Ice Queen. So why did she feel like she was the one who had been shattered? She looked at her reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back looked tired. Hollow. Nothing like the victor she was supposed to be. Her phone buzzed. Brooke, did you do it? Tell me you told her. Morgan stared at the message. She should feel triumphant. She should be celebrating. Instead she typed back one word. Yes. And how did she take it? Morgan thought about Vivian's face. The way her eyes had gone empty. The way she had stopped crying and just stared. She broke, Morgan wrote. Just like I wanted. Perfect. Now you can walk away. Divorce papers in a month. You win. Morgan put the phone down. She walked back to the bedroom door and pressed her ear against it. Silence. No sobs. No movement. Nothing. She had expected satisfaction. She had expected closure. Instead she felt like she had murdered something precious. Morgan opened the door quietly. Vivian was still in the bed, curled into a ball, facing away from her side of the room. Her shoulders weren't moving. She wasn't crying anymore. That should have been a relief. It wasn't. Morgan walked to her suitcase and pulled out a pillow and blanket. She would sleep in the living room tonight. She couldn't be in this room. Not after what she had done. As she left, she glanced back at Vivian one more time. The woman who had been radiant at the altar now looked like a ghost. Broken. Morgan closed the door behind her. She had won. So why did it feel like she had lost everything? I don't know how long I lay there. Hours. Maybe minutes. Time had lost its meaning. When I finally moved, my body felt heavy. Like it belonged to someone else. Like the woman who had walked down the aisle yesterday had died and I was just her corpse. I stood and walked to the bathroom. My reflection stared back at me. Red eyes. Swollen face. Hair tangled. I looked like grief personified. I turned on the shower and stood under the water until it ran cold. Then I dried myself off and put on the robe Morgan had left behind. It still smelled like her perfume. I should have taken it off. I didn't. I walked back into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. The rose petals had been crushed under my feet. The champagne had gone flat. My phone was on the nightstand. 47 missed calls. Most from Maya. Some from my mother. One from my father. I turned it off. There was nothing to say. Nothing to explain. How do you tell your family that your marriage was a lie? That your wife never loved you? That you were nothing more than a conquest? I couldn't. So I sat in the dark and waited for morning. When the sun rose, I would get up. I would get dressed. I would go to work. I would pretend nothing had happened. Because what alternative did I have? I was married. Legally. Bound to a woman who had destroyed me. I had fought with my family over this marriage. They had warned me. Maya had warned me. I had chosen Morgan over all of them. Now I had nothing. No wife. No family. No friends. No dignity. Just the clothes on my back and the knowledge that I had been foolish enough to believe in love. I lay back down on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere in the suite, Morgan was probably sleeping peacefully. She had won. She had accomplished her goal. She could walk away whenever she wanted. And I was trapped. The thought should have terrified me. It didn't. I was too empty for terror. Too hollow for fear. I closed my eyes and tried to remember what it felt like to be warm. To be loved. To be safe. I couldn't remember. The ice had returned. But this time it wasn't a shield. It was a tomb. Morgan didn't sleep that night. She sat on the couch in the living room, staring at the wall, replaying every moment of the conversation in her head. She had wanted to see Vivian cry. She had wanted to see her break. She had gotten exactly what she wanted. And it tasted like ashes. When morning came, she heard Vivian moving in the bedroom. The sound of drawers opening. Closing. The shower running. Then silence. Morgan stood and straightened her clothes. She needed to look composed. Professional. Like nothing had happened. Because to the world nothing had. They were still married. Still a couple. Still the power pair everyone admired. The truth was theirs alone to carry. Morgan walked to the bedroom door and knocked. No answer. She opened it anyway. Vivian was dressed in a navy suit, her hair perfectly styled. Her face was composed. There was no trace of the tears from last night. "We need to talk about," Morgan began. "There's nothing to discuss," Vivian said quietly. She didn't look at Morgan. He was packing a bag. "We have a public image to maintain. We're married. That's all that matters." "Vivian." "Mrs. Pierce," Vivian corrected. "That's what you wanted, isn't it? My name. My reputation. My life." She finally looked at Morgan and her eyes were dead. "You can have all of it. I don't care anymore." She walked past Morgan without another word. Morgan stood in the empty room, listening to the sound of Vivian's footsteps fading down the hallway. She had won. She had broken the Ice Queen. So why did she feel like she was the one who had been destroyed? The house is quiet. It is a large house filled with expensive furniture and art that cost more than most people earn in a lifetime, but it is quiet. Silence has always been my companion, but this silence is different. It is not the peace of solitude. It is the silence of a tomb. Morgan and I live here now. Legally we are wives. Socially we are a power couple. Privately we are strangers sharing address. We sleep in separate rooms. I chose the guest suite on the east wing. It faces the garden. Morgan stays in the master bedroom. She says it is because she works late and doesn't want to disturb me. I know it is because she cannot bear to look at me in the dark. Our routine is precise. I wake at 6. I shower. I dress in suits that armor my body. I go to work. I return at 7. I eat alone in the dining room, though Morgan is often home. She sits in the living room drinking wine, watching the news. Sometimes she speaks to me. I answer in monosyllables. Yes. No. Fine. He hates it. I can see the frustration tightening her jaw. She wants anger. She wants tears. She wants me to scream at her, to throw things, to demand answers. She wants to feel like the victor in a battle. But there is no battle. There is only surrender. I'm not fighting anymore. I have nothing left to defend. Yesterday she came to my room. It was late. The house was dark. She stood in the doorway wearing a silk robe, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked beautiful. She always looks beautiful. It is part of the weapon. "Vivian," she said. Her voice was low. Husky. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, reading a book I wasn't actually reading. I looked up. "Yes. We're married," she said. She stepped into the room. The door clicked shut behind her. "We should act like it." I closed the book. I placed it on the nightstand. I stood up. I did not feel fear. I did not feel desire. I felt nothing. "What do you want, Morgan?" "You know what I want." He approached me. She touched my face. Her hand was warm. I did not lean into it. I did not pull away. I stood still like a statue waiting to be carved. She kissed me. It was a demanding kiss. She tried to pour emotion into it. Bigger. Plus. Possession. I opened my mouth because it was easier than resisting. I let her hands move over my body. I let her undress me. I let her push me onto the bed. During the act she whispered things. Cruel things. Reminders of who I was. Reminders of what she had done. She tried to provoke a reaction. She wanted me to cry. She wanted me to beg. I stared at the ceiling. I counted the cracks in the plaster. 1, 2, 3. When it was over, she collapsed beside me, breathing hard. She waited. She waited for me to turn away. She waited for me to sob. I sat up. I pulled the sheet around me. I looked at her. My face was blank. "Are you satisfied?" I asked. Her eyes widened. The triumph drained out of her face, replaced by something hollow. "You didn't feel anything." "No," I said. "I didn't." I got out of bed and walked to the bathroom. I locked the door. I turned on the tap and let the water run until it was cold. Then I washed my face. I looked in the mirror. The woman staring back had my eyes, but they were empty. I'm not the Ice Queen anymore. The Ice Queen had feelings she hid. I have nothing to hide. Morgan met Brooke at the bar 2 days later. The neon lights buzzed overhead, casting a pink glow over the condensation on their glasses. Morgan looked exhausted. Dark circles bruised the skin under her eyes. She drank her whiskey quickly. "You look like hell," Brooke said, swirling her own drink. "I thought you won. Why do you look like you lost?" "I did win," Morgan said. Her voice lacked conviction. She's mine. She's living in my house. He sleeps in my bed when I tell her to. She does whatever I say. But she's not there, Morgan admitted. She slammed the glass down. It's like sleeping next to a mannequin. I try to hurt her and she doesn't flinch. I try to touch her and she doesn't respond. I told her I ruined her life, Brooke, and she just asked me if I was satisfied. Brooke frowned. She leaned forward, her expression serious. Mo, listen to me. I told you this was a bad idea. I told you revenge isn't sweet. It was supposed to be, Morgan insisted. I wanted to see her cry. I wanted to see her break. You broke her too much, Brooke said quietly. You wanted to crack the ice. Instead you shattered the glass. Now there's nothing left to hold anything. She'll come around, Morgan said. But she didn't sound sure. She loves me. She said she loved me on the wedding night. She loved the idea of you, Brooke corrected. The woman you pretended to be. Now she knows the truth. And you know what? You should be happy. You got what you wanted. She's out of your way. You can divorce her in a few months, take whatever settlement you want and move on. Morgan stared into her drink. I don't want to move on. Then what do you want? I want her to look at me, Morgan whispered. Like she did before. Like I was something real. Brooke sighed. She reached out and touched Morgan's arm. You can't have both, Emma. You can't destroy someone and expect them to love you afterward. You made your choice. Now you have to live with the silence. Morgan pulled her arm away. She signaled the bartender for another drink. She's just playing hard to get. He's stubborn. She'll crack eventually. She's not playing, Brooke said. She's depressed. Have you noticed she's not eating? Have you noticed she leaves for work at dawn and comes home at dusk? She's avoiding you. She's avoiding the pain, Morgan said. No, Brooke said. She's avoiding you. Because you are the pain. Maya called me again today. I let it go to voicemail. I have listened to none of them. I know what she will say. I told you so. She doesn't need to say it. I know. I sit in my office during lunch breaks. I lock the door. I open my laptop. I search for things I never thought I would need. Divorce lawyers. Contested marriage. Emotional distress. The search results populate the screen. Rows of names. Firms specializing in high net worth separations. I click on one. A woman named Elena Ross. Her profile says she is compassionate. Discreet. I copy the number. I paste it into an encrypted note on my phone. I cannot leave yet. Not immediately. The merger between my company and Morgan's firm is pending. If I file now, the stocks will plummet. My father will lose face. My employees might lose jobs. I have to wait. I have to be strategic. I'm good at strategy. I'm good at waiting. I close the laptop. I fix my hair. I walk back out onto the floor. My assistants smile at me. They think I am happy. They see the ring. They see the name change. Mrs. Pierce, one of them says. Your wife called. She said she's making dinner tonight. I stop. My hand hovers over the door handle. Tell her I will be working late. Will you be home for breakfast? I don't know. I walk away. I hear them whispering behind me. They think I am difficult. They think I am cold. They do not know I am dead. When I get home, the smell of food hits me. Roast chicken. Herbs. Garlic. It smells like a home. It smells like a life I am not living. Morgan is in the kitchen. She is wearing an apron. She looks domestic. Soft. He turns when I enter. She smiles. It is a hopeful smile. You're home, she says. I made dinner. I ate at the office. I lie. I did not eat. I haven't eaten much in weeks. My clothes are looser. My ribs show when I shower. Oh. The smile falters. I made enough for leftovers. I don't want leftovers. I walk past her. I head for the stairs. Vivian, wait. She follows me. Her footsteps are urgent. We need to talk. We can't keep doing this. The silence. It's killing me. I stop on the first step. I do not turn around. You wanted silence. You wanted a wife who wouldn't challenge you. Who wouldn't feel. I am giving you exactly what you asked for. I didn't want this. Her voice rises. I wanted you to feel something. Even hate. Just feel something. I feel nothing, I say. You made sure of that. I continue up the stairs. I hear her standing at the bottom, breathing heavily. I hear the sound of her hand hitting the wall. "Damn it, Vivian," she shouts. I do not flinch. I reach the top of the stairs. I walk to my room. I close the door. I lock it. I sit on the bed. I take out my phone. I look at the number for Elena Ross. I will call soon. Morgan stood in the foyer staring up at the ceiling. The house was silent again. The dinner was getting cold on the stove. She walked into the living room and poured another glass of wine. She didn't taste it. She just needed something to hold. Her phone buzzed. "Brooke, how's the happy home?" Morgan typed back. "She's leaving me." "What? Did she say that?" "Not yet. But she will. I can feel it. He's planning something. She's too quiet. Too calm. Mo, let her go. If she asks for a divorce, sign the papers. Take the loss. Cut your ties." "I can't." "Why? You hate her. You said you wanted to destroy her." Morgan looked up at the ceiling again. She could imagine Vivian up there, sitting in the dark, planning her escape. "I don't hate her anymore," Morgan typed. "I think I loved her. And I think I ruined it." She hit send before she could delete it. Brooke's response was immediate. "Then fix it. Stop playing games. Tell her the truth. All of it." Morgan put the phone down. She walked to the window and looked out at the garden. The lights were off in Vivian's room. She was asleep. Or pretending to be. Morgan knew she should walk away. She knew Brooke was right. This was supposed to be a victory lap. Instead, it was a prison sentence. But she couldn't leave. Not yet. She needed to know if there was anything left inside Vivian. Even if it was hatred. Even if it was disgust. She needed to know she mattered enough to be hated. She finished the wine. She walked to the stairs. She put her hand on the railing. She wanted to go up there. She wanted to shake Vivian until she screamed. Until she cried. Until she was real again. But she knew if she did that, she might break something that could never be fixed. So she turned around. She went back to the kitchen. She wrapped the leftover chicken in foil. He put it in the fridge. Maybe tomorrow Vivian would eat. Maybe tomorrow things would be different. But Morgan knew deep down that tomorrow would be exactly the same. "I wake up every morning hoping I will not wake up." That is a dark thought. I know it is. But it is the truth. The exhaustion is heavy. Sits on my chest like a stone. Getting out of bed requires calculation. Energy I do not have. I go to the mirror. I check my appearance. I ensure the mask is in place. No dark circles. No tremors. No signs of the decay inside. I walk downstairs. Morgan is already gone. She leaves earlier now. She avoids me too. On the counter there is a note. "Made coffee. It's in the thermos. Please eat something." I look at the thermos. I look at the plate of toast beside it. I pick up the thermos. I walk to the sink. I pour the coffee down the drain. I throw the toast in the trash. I wash the mug. I dry it. I put it away. I leave the house. In the car, I sit for a moment before starting the engine. I close my eyes. I try to remember the feeling of the sun on my face. I try to remember the feeling of laughter. I cannot. There is only the cold. There is only the plan. I start the car. I drive to work. I drive to the lawyer. I drive to the end. I am not the ice queen. I am not the wife. I am not the victim. I am just a woman waiting for the winter to end. But I am afraid the winter is all there is left. Morgan found the thermos in the sink. Empty. Rinsed. Bright. The toast was in the trash. She stood in the kitchen, staring at the evidence of Vivian's rejection. It was small. Insignificant. But it felt like a declaration of war. She picked up the thermos. It was still warm. Vivian had poured it out recently. Morgan pressed the metal against her forehead. She closed her eyes. "She hates me," she whispered to the empty room. But hate was better than nothing. Hate was passion. Hate was energy. What Vivian was giving her was worse than hate. It was indifference. Morgan put the thermos down. She walked to the living room. She sat on the couch. She picked up her phone. She opened her contacts. She scrolled to Vivian's name. She wanted to call. She wanted to beg. She locked the phone instead. She couldn't beg. She was Morgan Pierce. She was the victor. But as she sat in the silence of the house, surrounded by the things they had bought together, the things they had planned to share, she realized the truth. You cannot win a game where the other player has left the board. Vivian had left. She was still walking the halls. She was still sleeping in the bed. But she was gone. And Morgan was alone. The days blurred together now. Monday feels like Thursday. Morning feels like night. I move through my life like a ghost haunting my own body. I have lost weight. My suits hang loosely on my frame. My assistants notice. They whisper when I walk past. They ask if I am feeling well. I tell them I am fine. I say the word the way one recites a prayer they no longer believe in. Fine. 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 I'm not fine. I have not been fine since the wedding night. Since the laugh. Since the words that cut deeper than any knife ever could. It was a game, Vivian. I eat less now. Food has no taste. Sleep has no rest. I lie in bed and stare at the ceiling until my eyes burn. Sometimes I wake up and I do not remember falling asleep. Sometimes I wake up and I wish I had not woken at all. This morning I found myself standing in the shower for 20 minutes. The water ran cold. I did not move. I did not feel the chill. I just stood there letting the water hit my skin, wondering what it would feel like to stop breathing. The thought did not frighten me. That is what frightens me now. I dressed. I drove to work. I sat in my office and stared at the spreadsheet on my screen. The numbers swam before my eyes. I could not make them stay still. My assistant knocked. Miss Sterling? Your friend is here. Violin. I looked up. I did not schedule a meeting. She says it is personal. I should have said no. I should have sent her away. But Maya has been my friend for 20 years. She has seen me at my worst. She has never left. Send her in. Maya walked into the office and stopped. She had not seen Vivian in 3 months. Not since the wedding. Not since the warnings that went unheeded. The woman sitting behind the desk was not the Vivian she knew. The silver hair was still perfect. The suit was still expensive. But the eyes were empty. Dark circles shadowed them. The skin was pale. The hands resting on the desk were trembling slightly. Vivi, Maya said softly. It's Vivian. Right. Maya walked forward and sat in the chair across from the desk. She did not wait for permission. I'm not leaving until you talk to me. There is nothing to talk about. Don't lie to me. I know you. I have known you since we were children. You are not eating. You are not sleeping. You are fading. Vivian looked down at her hands. I am fine. You are not fine. Maya leaned forward. I saw Morgan last week. At a fundraiser. She looked guilty. He asked about you. She wanted to know if you were okay. Vivian's expression did not change. Why would she care? Because she broke you, Maya said. And even she can see what she did. Vivian was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I am arranging it. Maya frowned. Arranging what? The divorce. Vivian finally looked up. I have found a lawyer. I am waiting for the right time. The merger closes next month. After that I will file. Maya's eyes widened. Vivian, that is good. That is what I wanted you to do. I know. But you do not sound happy. Why would I be happy? Vivian's voice was flat. I made a mistake. I am correcting it. There is no joy in that. There is only cleanup. Maya reached across the desk. She wanted to touch Vivian's hand. To offer comfort. But Vivian pulled away before she could. I need to go, Vivian said. I have a meeting. Vivian, wait. Maya stood. Please, let me help you. You do not have to do this alone. I am always alone, Vivian said. That has not changed. She stood and walked to the door. Maya watched her go. The woman who had once been vibrant, strong, untouchable. Now she was a shadow of herself. Maya picked up her phone. She dialed a number she had avoided for months. Morgan Pierce, she said when the call connected. We need to talk. I came home early. I do not know why. Perhaps I was tired. Perhaps I wanted to see if Morgan was there. Perhaps I wanted to confirm that she was not. She was. He was in the kitchen making tea. She looked up when I entered. Her eyes widened. You're home early, she said. I was tired. She set the kettle down. She walked toward me. I did not move away. I did not move toward her. I stood still, like I always do. Vivian, she said. You haven't been taking care of yourself. I am fine. Stop saying that. Her voice sharpened. You are not fine. You are barely eating. You have dark circles. You look like... She trailed off. Like what? Like you do not care if you live or die. I looked at her. Really looked at her. For the first time in weeks I saw something in her eyes. Not triumph. Not cruelty. Concern. Why do you care? I asked. She flinched. I am your wife. You are my jailer. The words hung in the air between us. Heavy. True. Morgan's jaw tightened. I did not marry you to jail you. You married me to destroy me. You said so yourself. I was angry. Anger does not last for months, Morgan. Anger burns out. What you did, what you are doing, this is something else. She reached for my hand. I let her take it. Her skin was warm. Mine was cold. I know I hurt you, she said. I know I cannot take it back. But I am trying. I am here. I am not leaving. I did not ask you to stay. I know. He squeezed my hand. But I am staying anyway. I pulled my hand away. Do not. It will not change anything. I walked past her. I went up the stairs. I went to my room. I closed the door. I sat on the bed. I opened my laptop. I opened the encrypted folder. The lawyer's contact information stared back at me. Elena Ross. Divorce. Separation. Custody. Assets. I highlighted the email address. I hovered over the send button. Not yet. Not yet. I closed the laptop. Morgan stood in the kitchen staring at her empty hand. Vivian's skin had been cold. Like touching ice. Like touching something dead. She poured the tea into 2 cups. She carried one upstairs. She knocked on Vivian's door. No answer. She opened the door anyway. The room was dark. Vivian was sitting on the bed, her laptop closed, staring at the wall. I made tea, Morgan said. I do not want any. Please. Morgan set the cup on the nightstand. Just talk to me. Tell me what you are thinking. Vivian turned her head slowly. I am thinking about how much I want to sleep. And how I know when I wake up you will still be here. And nothing will have changed. That is not true. Isn't it? Vivian's voice was quiet. You hurt me. You apologized. I'm still hurt. You are still here. Nothing has changed. Morgan sat on the edge of the bed. She wanted to reach out. She wanted to pull Vivian into her arms. But she knew if she tried, Vivian would pull away. I was 7 years old, Morgan said suddenly. Vivian looked at her. What? The park. The dandelion. I was 7. You were 7. Morgan's voice was rough. I had just moved to the city. I did not know anyone. I saw you sitting on the bench. You looked alone. Like me. Vivian said nothing. I wanted to be your friend, Morgan continued. I thought if we made a wish together maybe we could be friends. Maybe we could be less alone. She paused. You told me wishes do not come true. You told me they were just stories we tell ourselves to feel less alone. I was a child, Vivian said. So was I. Morgan's eyes burned. But I remembered. For 20 years I remembered. I built a story around that moment. You were the villain. I was the victim. I was going to make you feel what I felt. Vivian looked down at her hands. And now I do not know what I am. Morgan stood. I thought revenge would feel like victory. Feels like nothing. Like you. He walked to the door. She stopped. I am not giving up on you, Vivian. I know I do not deserve you. But I am not giving up. She left before Vivian could respond. I heard her footsteps fade down the hallway. I waited until I heard the front door close. She was leaving. Good. I opened my laptop again. I opened the email draft. I had written it 3 times. Deleted it 3 times. Dear Ms. Ross, I would like to schedule a consultation regarding divorce proceedings. I added one more line. Please keep this confidential. My wife does not know. I sent it. The email disappeared into the digital void. Somewhere a lawyer was receiving my plea for escape. Somewhere someone was going to help me end this. I closed the laptop. I lay down on the bed. I stared at the ceiling. I remembered the park. I remembered the girl with curly hair. I remembered the dandelion. I did not remember being cruel. I remembered being scared. My mother had just left. My father was never home. I was 7 years old and I did not know how to be kind. I did not know how to be anything but cold. I had not meant to hurt her. But I had. And now we were both paying for it. My phone buzzed. A new email. From Elena Ross. Dear Ms. Sterling, thank you for reaching out. I would be happy to meet with you. I have availability next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Please confirm. I typed my response. I will be there. I set the phone down. I closed my eyes. For the first time in months I felt something. Not hope. Not joy. But purpose. I was leaving. I was getting out. And Morgan Pierce would finally have what she wanted. He would be free of me. Morgan came home late. The house was dark. She walked through the rooms calling Vivian's name. No answer. She went upstairs. Vivian's door was closed. She knocked. No answer. She opened the door. The room was empty. The bed was made. The laptop was gone. Morgan's heart stopped. He ran to the desk. The drawers were open. He ran to the closet. Half of Vivian's clothes were missing. Panic surged through her chest. She pulled out her phone. She called Vivian. It went straight to voicemail. He called Maya. No answer. She called Vivian's office. The assistant answered. Miss Sterling left early today. She said she had a personal appointment. Did she say where? No. But she looked determined. Morgan hung up. She walked back into the bedroom. She opened the laptop on the desk. It was password protected. She tried Vivian's birthday. Wrong. She tried their wedding date. Wrong. She tried her own birthday. Wrong. She opened the drawer. Papers were scattered inside. She dug through them. Bank statements. Property deeds. And then she found it. A printed email. From Elena Ross. Divorce attorney. Consultation scheduled. Tuesday at 3 p.m. Morgan's hands shook. She read the email twice. 3 times. The words did not change. Divorce. Vivian was leaving. Vivian was actually leaving. Morgan crumpled the paper in her fist. He threw it across the room. He paced. She breathed. He tried to calm down. This was what she wanted. Was not it? She had planned to leave. She had planned to file for divorce. She had planned to walk away. So why did this feel like death? She picked up her phone. He called Brooke. She is leaving me, Morgan said when Brooke answered. What? Vivian. She found a lawyer. She is filing for divorce. Brooke was silent for a moment. Mo, this is what you wanted. Remember? You were going to dump her after a few months. She is beating you to it. I do not want her to leave. Then stop her. How? Morgan's voice broke. She will not talk to me. She will not look at me. She's gone, Brooke. And I did this. You did, Brooke said quietly. But you can fix it. If you want to. Morgan looked around the empty room. The half-empty closet. The cold bed. The life they had built together crumbling before her eyes. I do not know how, she whispered. Then figure it out, Brooke said. Before she walks away forever. Morgan hung up. She sat on the edge of the bed. She held the crumpled email in her hand. Tuesday. She had until Tuesday. She did not know what she would do. But she knew she could not let Vivian leave. Not like this. Not ever. Tuesday arrived with gray skies and a light rain. I dressed carefully. I chose a navy suit, the same one I wore on the day Morgan first came to my office. There is something poetic about that, I think. Beginning and ending in the same armor. I placed the divorce papers in my briefcase. They were thick. Comprehensive. Elena Ross had done excellent work. She had asked me questions I did not want to answer. Questions about why I was leaving. Questions about whether I was safe. Questions about whether I wanted to press charges. I told her no. I told her I just wanted out. She had looked at me with sad eyes. She had seen women like me before. Women who had been broken by love. Women who had learned that survival was more important than justice. You do not have to give up everything, she had said. You can fight for what is yours. I do not want anything that belongs to her. Vivian, you are worth more than that. I am worth exactly what I am asking for. Nothing more. Nothing less. She had signed the papers without another word. Now I sit in the living room waiting for Morgan to come home. I know she will come. I called her office. I told her assistant I needed her home immediately. I told her it was urgent. She arrived within the hour. I heard the car pull into the driveway. I heard the door open. I heard her footsteps stop when she saw me. I stood. I took the papers from my briefcase. I held them out to her. I want a divorce, I said. My voice was calm, steady. There was no tremor, no emotion, just facts. Morgan stared at the papers. He did not take them. She looked at me and I saw something flicker in her eyes. Fear, panic, rage. What? She said. I want a divorce. I have already spoken to a lawyer. These papers outline the terms. I do not want any joint marital properties. I do not want alimony. I do not want anything that belongs to you. I want my belongings from before the marriage. I want my name back. I want to be Vivian Sterling again. Morgan's hands clenched into fists. You are serious. I have never been more serious about anything. She stepped forward. She did not take the papers. Instead she looked at me, her eyes burning. Is this about the other night? About what I said? Vivian, I was angry. I was drunk. I did not mean. You meant every word, I interrupted. You told me it was a game. You told me I was a challenge. You told me taking my virginity was a perk. Those were not words spoken in anger. Those were truths you had been hiding. Morgan shook her head. People say things they do not mean when they are hurt. I was hurt. I wanted to hurt you back. But that does not mean I do not love you. You do not know what love is. The words came out sharper than I intended. Morgan flinched. Good. I know what love is, she said. I know what it feels like to want someone so much you would destroy yourself for them. I know what it feels like to wake up every day and think about their smile. I know what it feels like to lose them. You did not lose me, I said quietly. You threw me away. There is a difference. She reached for the papers. He took them from my hand. She looked down at them. Her eyes scanned the pages. I saw her hands trembling. You cannot be serious about this, she said. We are married. We made vows. The vows were lies. All of them. Yours especially. Morgan looked up. Her face was red. Her eyes were wet. You are just giving up. You are running away. I am surviving. Surviving. She laughed. It was a bitter sound. You call this surviving? You are barely eating. You are barely sleeping. You are a ghost, Vivian. And you think leaving me will fix that. Staying with you will not fix it either. She threw the papers on the floor. They scattered across the carpet. I am not signing these. You do not have a choice. I do have a choice. She stepped closer. She was in my space now. Too close. I could smell her perfume. I could see the anger in her eyes. I am your wife. I am not letting you go without a fight. There is nothing to fight for. There is you. I looked at her. Really looked at her. For the first time since the wedding, I saw something in her face that was not triumph. It was desperation. It was fear. It was regret. But it was too late. Sign the papers, Morgan. No. I bent down. I picked up the scattered pages. I straightened them. I placed them on the table. Think about it, I said. I will give you 1 week. After that, I will file without your signature. It will be more complicated. More expensive. More public. But I will do it. I turned to walk away. Morgan's hand shot out. She grabbed my arm. I stopped. I did not pull away. I did not look at her. Please, she whispered. Do not do this. I gently removed her hand from my arm. You should have thought about that before you made me into a game. I walked up the stairs. I heard her behind me. Her breathing was heavy. Her footsteps were fast. Vivian, she shouted. I did not turn around. Vivian. I reached the top of the stairs. I heard her running up behind me. I felt her hand on my shoulder. I turned. She slapped me. The sound was loud. My head turned to the side from the force. My cheek burned. I did not flinch. I did not cry. I did not touch my face. I slowly turned back to face her. I looked at her hand. Then I looked at her eyes. Are you satisfied now? I asked. Did that make you feel better? Morgan's hand was still raised. Her eyes were wide. She looked at her own hand like she did not recognize it. She started. Do not apologize. I stepped past her. Apologies are for mistakes. This was not a mistake. This was who you are. I walked into my room. I closed the door. I locked it. I stood in the dark for a long time. My cheek still burned. But I did not feel pain. I felt nothing. That is when I knew I was truly broken. Morgan stood in the hallway staring at the closed door. Her hands still tingled from the slap. He could not believe she had done it. She had never hit anyone in her life. Never. But Vivian had not flinched. She had not cried. She had not even touched her face. She had just accepted it. Like it was nothing. Like she was nothing. Morgan's legs gave out. She sank to the floor, her back against the wall. She put her head in her hands. She breathed. He tried to calm down. He tried to think. But all she could see was Vivian's face. Empty. Hollow. Dead. Her phone buzzed. Brooke. Morgan ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. Finally she answered. What? Where are you? Brooke's voice was sharp. You were supposed to meet me an hour ago. I am not coming. What happened? Morgan looked at the closed door. She asked for a divorce. There was silence on the other end. And I said no. Mo. She will not listen. She will not fight. She will not cry. She just wants to leave. Morgan's voice broke. I slapped her, Brooke. I slapped her and she did not even flinch. Brooke was quiet for a long moment. You need to come to the bar. Now. I do not want to. Now, Morgan. Morgan hung up. She stood. She looked at the door one more time. Then she turned and walked away. I heard the front door close. I heard the car start. I heard it drive away. I was alone. I sat on the edge of my bed. I opened my nightstand drawer. Inside was a small bottle. White pills. Prescribed to me 3 months ago before the wedding. For anxiety. For sleep. I had not taken them since the wedding night. I had not needed them. Nothing affected me anymore. I took the bottle out. I opened it. I poured the pills into my palm. There were 23. I looked at them. They were small. Innocent. They looked like candy. I thought about swallowing them. All of them. I thought about lying down. I thought about closing my eyes. I thought about never waking up. It would be easy. It would be quiet. It would be over. I put the pills back in the bottle. I closed the drawer. Not today. Today I would wait. Today I would see what Morgan did. Today I would see if she would sign the papers. If she did not, I would find another way. There are many ways to end a life. Pills were just one of them. I stood. I walked to the mirror. I looked at my reflection. The red mark on my cheek was fading. Soon it would be gone. Soon everything would be gone. I touched my face. The skin was warm. The body was alive. But I was not. The bar was dark and loud. Morgan sat at the corner table, 3 empty glasses in front of her. Brooke sat across from her, watching with concerned eyes. You have had enough, Brooke said, reaching for the 4th glass. Morgan pulled it away. I am not drunk. You are getting there. Good. Morgan took a sip. Maybe if I am drunk enough, I will not remember what I did. You cannot undo it, Mo. You have to face it. Morgan laughed. It was a hollow sound. Face what? That I destroyed the only person who ever mattered to me? That I slapped her and she did not even care? That she looks at me like I am a stranger? Brooke leaned forward. You need to hear something. And you are not going to like it. Morgan looked up. What? Maya called me today. Morgan's eyes widened. Why? Because she is worried about Vivian. And she thinks you should know something. Brooke paused. Vivian tried to kill herself. Last week. Morgan's glass slipped from her hand. It shattered on the floor. The bar went quiet for a moment. Then the noise resumed. What? Morgan's voice was a whisper. Maya found her. In the bathroom. Pills. A lot of them. Brooke's eyes were hard. She pumped her stomach. She saved her life. And she did not tell you because she did not trust you. Morgan stared at her. When? 5 days ago. Morgan stood. Her chair fell over. Why did she not tell me? Because she knew you would do exactly what you are doing. You would make it about you. You would cry. You would beg. You would promise to change. And Vivian would have to comfort you. Again. Brooke stood too. She is dying, Mo. Not from the pills. From you. From what you did to her. Morgan's hands were shaking. I did not know. How you do. Brooke put money on the table. Go home. Go to her. But do not beg. Do not cry. Do not make it about you. Just be there. And if she asks you to leave, you leave. If she asks you to sign, you sign. If she asks you to disappear, you disappear. Morgan did not move. What if I do not want to? Then you are not the person she thought you were. And you never will be. Brooke walked away. Morgan stood alone in the middle of the bar, surrounded by noise and light and life. She felt nothing. She walked out. She got in her car. She drove home. I heard the car return. It was late. Past midnight. I was still awake. I do not sleep much anymore. I heard footsteps in the hallway. They stopped outside my door. I heard breathing. Heavy. Unsteady. I did not open the door. I did not speak. I did not move. After a long time the footsteps moved away. I heard another door close. Morgan's room. I lay in the dark. I listened to the house settle. I listened to the silence. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text message. From an unknown number. Maya told me. I'm so sorry. Please let me help you. Brooke. I deleted the message. Another text. From Maya. Are you okay? Please answer me. I am coming over tomorrow. I did not respond. I turned off the phone. I closed my eyes. Tomorrow would come. And I would still be here. And Morgan would still be here. And nothing would be different. Except now I knew that everyone knew. Everyone knew I was broken. Everyone knew I had tried to leave this world. Everyone knew I was not fine. But they did not know the truth. The truth was that I did not want to die. I just did not want to live like this. There is a difference. But no one understands it. No one ever will. Morgan lay in the master bedroom staring at the ceiling. The pills. The suicide attempt. The secret that had been kept from her. Maya had saved Vivian's life. And she had not told Morgan. Because she did not trust her. Because she knew Morgan would make it about herself. Morgan turned onto her side. She looked at the empty space beside her. Vivian had never slept in this bed. Not once since the wedding night. She had been alone. All of this time. She had been alone in a house with Morgan. Alone in a marriage that was a lie. Alone in a life that was falling apart. And Morgan had not noticed. Or she had noticed and she had not cared enough to stop. Morgan closed her eyes. She thought about Vivian's face. The empty eyes. The blank expression. The way she had not flinched when Morgan slapped her. She had not flinched because she did not care. She had not cared because she had given up. And Morgan had done that to her. Morgan sat up. She looked at the clock. 3 a.m. She stood. She walked to the door. She opened it. She walked down the hallway. She stopped outside Vivian's room. She put her hand on the door handle. She did not turn it. She just stood there. I am sorry, she whispered to the closed door. I am so sorry. She did not know if Vivian could hear her. She did not know if it mattered. She walked back to her room. She lay down. She did not sleep. Morning would come soon. And she would have to face Vivian. And she would have to decide what kind of person she wanted to be. The person who had broken her. Or the person who might be able to fix her. Morgan did not know if she could be that person. But she knew she had to try. I woke before the sun. Always do now. The darkness is comfortable. It does not ask anything of me. It does not expect anything from me. I showered. I dressed. I packed a small bag. I did not know where I was going. I just knew I could not stay here. I walked downstairs. The house was quiet. Morgan was not in the kitchen. He was not in the living room. He was not anywhere I could see. Good. I left the divorce papers on the table. I left a note beside them. Sign them. Please. It is the last thing you can do for me. I walked to the door. I opened it. The morning air was cool. It smelled like rain. I stepped outside. I did not look back. I got in my car. I started the engine. I drove. I did not know where I was going. I just knew I had to go. Because if I stayed I would not survive. And if I left maybe I would. Maybe. Morgan woke to an empty house. She walked downstairs. She saw the papers on the table. She saw the note. She read it twice. Sign them. Please. It is the last thing you can do for me. He looked around. Vivian. No answer. She ran upstairs. She opened Vivian's door. The room was empty. The bed was made. The closet was half empty. She ran back downstairs. She grabbed her keys. She ran to the car. She drove to Vivian's office. The assistant shook her head. She did not come in today. She drove to Maya's apartment. Maya opened the door and looked at her with cold eyes. She is not here. Maya, please. I need to find her. Why? Maya's voice was sharp. So you can hurt her more? So you can beg and cry and make her comfort you? He does not owe you anything, Morgan. She never did. I know. Morgan's voice broke. I know I do not deserve her. But I need to know she is okay. I need to know she is safe. Maya looked at her for a long moment. Then she sighed. She called me an hour ago. She is at a hotel. He is safe. She is alive. But she is not okay. Morgan closed her eyes. Thank you. Do not thank me. Maya's eyes were hard. Fix this. Or let her go. But do not keep hurting her. She does not deserve this. Morgan nodded. She turned and walked away. She did not know what she would do. She did not know if she could fix this. But she knew she had to try. Because if she did not, Vivian would disappear forever. And Morgan would be alone. Truly alone. For the rest of her life. The hotel room is sterile. White sheets. White walls. White silence. Suits me. There is no history here. No memories of laughter. No echoes of lies. Just a bed, a window, and the city sprawling below like a circuit board of lives I am no longer part of. I have been here for 2 days. I have not left. I have not ordered room service. I have not turned on the television. I sit by the window and watch the cars move along the streets. They look like toys. People look like ants. From this height, nothing matters. Nothing hurts. I have the bottle in my hand. The same bottle from my nightstand at home. I brought it with me when I left. I knew I would need it. I knew I would not find the strength to live through another week of the hollow existence waiting for me. The pills are white. Small. Round. They look harmless. That is the trick. Danger rarely looks like danger. It looks like relief. It looks like sleep. I have written a note. It is on the desk. Short. Simple. Do not blame anyone. This is my choice. I am just tired. It is the truth. I am not angry. I am not seeking revenge. I am not trying to make Morgan feel guilty. I am just done. The weight of existing is too heavy. The effort of breathing is too much. I want to put the weight down. I open the bottle. The sound of the cap twisting off is loud in the quiet room. I pour the pills into my palm. They pile up like tiny stones. 23. Enough to stop a heart. Enough to silence a mind. I look at them. I do not feel fear. I feel anticipation. There is a knock at the door. I do not move. I do not answer. I am not expecting anyone. I told no one where I was. Maya knows, but she would not come. She respects my choices even when she hates them. The knock comes again. Harder. Urgent. Vivian. The voice is muffled through the wood. But I know it. Morgan. I close my hand over the pills. I do not hide them. I do not care if she sees. What does it matter? He cannot stop me. Not really. She can take the pills away, but she cannot take away the desire. The desire is a seed that has already grown roots. Vivian, open the door. Her voice is shaking. I can hear it. He is afraid. Good. He should be afraid. Not for me. For herself. Because if I die, she has to carry that. She has to live with the knowledge that she broke me so completely that death felt like the only option. I know you are in there. Morgan shouts. Maya told me. Open the door. I stand. I walk to the door. I do not unlock it. I just stand on the other side. Go away, Morgan. No. Not until you open this door. There is nothing for you here. Please, Vivian. Please. I hear her sliding down the door. She is sitting on the floor on the other side. I can imagine her. Head in hands. Crying. Begging. It does not move me. I walk back to the bed. I sit down. I look at the pills in my hand. I lift my hand to my mouth. The sound of splintering wood cracks through the room. The door flies open. Morgan stumbles in. She looks wild. Her hair is messy. Her eyes are red. Her clothes are wrinkled. She looks like she has not slept in days. She sees me. He sees the pills. Her face goes white. No, she whispers. She moves faster than I have ever seen her move. She crosses the room in 2 strides. She grabs my wrist. Her grip is tight. Painful. I do not resist. I let her take the pills. She knocks them from my hand. They scatter across the carpet. White stones on gray fabric. She grabs my shoulders. She shakes me. Are you crazy? She screams. Are you out of your mind? I look at her. My expression is blank. I am tired, Morgan. You do not get to do this. He's crying now. Tears stream down her face. You do not get to leave me like this. There is no us to leave. There is. She pulls me toward her. She hugs me. Tight. Desperate. Her body is shaking against mine. I am here. I'm not going anywhere. I will fix this. I will fix us. You cannot fix broken glass. I will glue every piece together, she sobs. I will spend the rest of my life doing it. Just, do not leave. Please, do not leave me. I stand in her arms. I do not hug her back. I do not push her away. I just stand there. Like a statue. Like a corpse. Let me go, I say softly. No. Morgan. No. She pulls back. She looks at me. Her eyes are pleading. I called an ambulance. They are coming. I do not want an ambulance. I do not care what you want. She wipes her face with her sleeve. You do not get to make decisions like this. Not anymore. I am not letting you out of my sight. I look at the scattered pills on the floor. They look like debris. Remnants of a plan that failed. Why? I ask. She freezes. What? Why did you stop me? Because I love you. That is a lie. It is not. Her voice cracks. It was a lie before. The revenge. The game. That was a lie. But this is real. I know I do not deserve you. I know I am the last person you want to see. But I cannot watch you die. I cannot be the reason you die. I look at her. I search her face for deception. I find none. I find only terror. It is too late, I say. It is not. She takes my hand. Her palm is sweaty. Come with me. To the hospital. Just to be safe. Please. I do not answer. I do not have the energy to fight. If I go to the hospital, they will keep me. They will watch me. They will stop me from trying again. Maybe that is what I need. Maybe I need to be stopped. Fine, I say. She lets out a breath she was holding. She nods. She does not let go of my hand. Morgan did not let go of Vivian's hand until they were in the ambulance. Even then she sat beside her, holding on like a lifeline. The paramedics asked questions. Vivian did not answer. Morgan answered for her. She took some. No, not all of them. Yes, she has a history of depression. They loaded Vivian onto the stretcher. Morgan climbed in the back. The paramedic tried to stop her. Morgan glared at him. I am her wife, she said. I am not leaving her. The paramedic relented. During the ride, Vivian stared at the ceiling of the ambulance. She did not blink. She did not speak. Morgan watched her chest rise and fall. Every breath was a victory. Every heartbeat was a miracle. Morgan looked at her own hands. They were shaking. She had come so close to losing her. She had come so close to winning a game that ended in a graveyard. You broke her, Brooke's voice echoed in her mind. You broke her too much. Morgan closed her eyes. She made a vow then. In the back of that ambulance with the sirens wailing around them. If she lives, I will spend every day making it up to her. Even if she hates me. Even if she never forgives me. I will keep her safe. They arrived at the hospital. Vivian was taken into emergency care. Morgan was left in the waiting room. She sat there for 6 hours. She did not move. She did not eat. She did not drink. When the doctor finally came out, Morgan stood up so fast she dizzy. Is she okay? She is stable, the doctor said. We pumped her stomach. She will be physically fine. But mentally, she needs observation. She is at high risk. Can I see her? Not yet. Wait until morning. Morgan nodded. She sat back down. She pulled out her phone. He called Brooke. She tried, Morgan said. Her voice was hollow. She actually tried. M.O. I stopped her. But, what if I had been 10 minutes later? What if the door had been locked? Stop. I cannot stop. I have to watch her. I have to make sure she never. I cannot leave her alone. You cannot live in the hospital. Watch me. Morgan hung up. She looked at the closed doors of the emergency ward. Behind those doors, Vivian was sleeping. Or pretending to. Morgan would be waiting when she woke up. I woke up to the sound of beeping. White ceiling. White walls. White sheets. The hospital smells like antiseptic and despair. Reminds me of the hotel. I turn my head. Morgan was sitting in the chair beside the bed. She was asleep. Her head was resting on the mattress near my hand. She looked exhausted. Dark circles bruised her eyes. Her hair was tangled. I looked at my hand. She was holding it. Even in sleep she was holding on. I should have pulled away. I should have woken her and told her to leave. But I did not have the energy. My body felt heavy. My stomach hurt from the procedure. My head throbbed. I lay there and watched her breathe. She woke up when I moved. Her eyes snapped open. She looked at me. Relief washed over her face. "You are awake," she said. Her voice was raspy. "Yes. How do you feel?" "Like I failed." Morgan flinched. She sat up straight. "You did not fail. You are here. That is what matters." "I am here. But I am not better." "I know." He squeezed my hand. "But you are alive. And as long as you are alive there is a chance." "For what?" "For healing. For something else." I looked at her. "Why are you still here?" "Because I told you. I am not leaving. You should be at work. You should be at home." "I am exactly where I need to be." The doctor came in then. He asked me questions. "Do you feel safe? Do you have thoughts of harming yourself?" I lied. I said no. I said I was fine. I said I made a mistake. He did not believe me. But he discharged me anyway. Morgan had signed papers. She had promised to watch me, to keep me safe. We left the hospital an hour later. Morgan drove. I sat in the passenger seat. I looked out the window. The city passed by. Nothing had changed. Everything had changed. When we got home, Morgan did not let me go to my room. "I am staying with you," she said. "I do not want you in my room. I do not care." She walked into my room and started moving things. She brought her pillow, her blanket, her clothes. "I am sleeping on the floor if I have to. But I am not leaving you alone." I stood in the doorway. I watched her rearrange my space. Invading it. Claiming it. "You are suffocating me." "Then breathe," she said. "Just breathe. I will handle the rest." I did not argue. I was too tired. I walked to the bed. I lay down. I turned my back to her. I heard her settle on the floor beside the bed. I heard her breathing slow down. I closed my eyes. I did not sleep. I listened to her presence in the room. It was intrusive. It was unwanted. But for the first time in months I did not feel entirely alone. The next week was a blur of quiet vigilance. Morgan did not go to work. She told her firm she had a family emergency. They accepted it. They knew something was wrong. Morgan looked like a ghost. She stayed in Vivian's room. He slept on the floor. Every time Vivian moved, Morgan woke up. Every time Vivian went to the bathroom, Morgan waited outside the door. It was exhausting. It was necessary. Morgan started cooking. She made small meals. Soup. Toast. She left them on the nightstand. "Please eat." Most of the time the food went untouched. But sometimes a few bites were gone. Morgan counted those bites like victories. He started talking. Not about the divorce. Not about the past. His feeling. "The weather is nice today. I saw a bird on the windowsill. This tea is chamomile. It helps with sleep." Vivian rarely responded. Sometimes she nodded. Sometimes she said nothing. But she did not tell Morgan to stop. She did not ask her to leave. That was progress. Brooke came by once. She stood in the doorway and looked at Morgan. "You look like hell," Brooke said. "I feel like hell." "Is she okay?" "She is alive." "That is something. It has to be enough." Brooke sighed. He walked into the room. Vivian was sitting by the window. Brooke stood near her. "I am glad you are still here," Brooke said quietly. Vivian did not look at her. "I am not." "I know." Brooke left a bag on the table. Vitamins. And some books. Nothing heavy. Just pictures. Brooke left. Morgan picked up the bag. She put the vitamins next to the water glass. She looked at Vivian. Vivian was staring at the garden. The sun was setting. The light caught her silver hair. She looked fragile. Like glass that had been glued back together. Morgan wanted to touch her. She wanted to hug her. She wanted to tell her she was sorry 1,000 times. But she did not. She knew touch was dangerous. She knew words were dangerous. So she just sat on the floor. And she watched. And she waited. 3 days after the hospital, I woke up in the middle of the night. The room was dark. Morgan was asleep on the floor. Her breathing was steady. I was thirsty. I got out of bed. I walked to the kitchen. I did not turn on the lights. I knew the way. I poured a glass of water. I stood in the dark and drank it. Then I heard a sound. Soft. Wet. Someone was crying. I turned. I saw a shape on the couch. Morgan. She was curled up. Her face was buried in a pillow. Her shoulders were shaking. I did not move. I watched her. I had never seen Morgan cry before. Not like this. At the hotel she was frantic. At the hospital she was desperate. But this was grief. She was crying for me. I stood there for a long time. The glass of water was cold in my hand. I should have walked away. I should have gone back to bed. I should have maintained the distance that kept me safe. But I did not. I took a step forward. Then another. I stood beside the couch. I looked down at her. He did not know I was there. She looked small. Vulnerable. Not the woman who had broken me. Not the woman who had slapped me. Just a woman. A woman who was hurting. I felt something in my chest. A tiny flicker. Not love. Not forgiveness. But recognition. He was human. She was flawed. She was suffering. Just like me. I set the glass down on the table. I reached out. My hand hovered over her shoulder. I did not touch her. I just let my hand stay there. Close. Warm. Then I turned and walked back to my room. I lay in bed. I listened to the silence. The crying had stopped. I closed my eyes. For the first time since the wedding, I did not dream of death. I dreamed of nothing. And for now that was enough. Morgan woke up with a stiff neck. The sun was streaming through the windows. She sat up. She looked at the couch. There was a glass of water on the table. Condensation on the side. It had been filled recently. She stood. She walked to Vivian's room. The door was open. Vivian was sitting on the bed. She was looking at her phone. Morgan stopped in the doorway. Did you come downstairs last night? Vivian did not look up. I was thirsty. And the glass. I put it there. Morgan's heart skipped a beat. You saw me. Yes. I am sorry. Do not apologize. Vivian finally looked at her. Her eyes were tired. But they were not empty. Not completely. Just, make coffee. Morgan stared at her. What? Coffee. What? No sugar. Morgan nodded. She felt a surge of something she had not felt in months. Hope. Okay, she said. I will make coffee. She walked to the kitchen. Her hands were shaking. But this time it was not from fear. It was from anticipation. She made the coffee. He brought it to the room. She set it on the nightstand. Vivian picked it up. She took a sip. She did not smile. She did not say thank you. But she drank it. Morgan sat on the floor. He watched her. It was a small thing. A cup of coffee. But it was a start. They were not fixed. They were not okay. Vivian was still broken. Morgan was still guilty. But they were here. Together. In the same room. And for the first time Morgan did not feel like a jailer. He felt like a guardian. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to build something new on. The coffee ritual has become the anchor of my days. Every morning at 7 Morgan knocks on the door. She does not enter unless I say so. She waits. Sometimes for 10 minutes. Sometimes for 20. She respects the boundary I have drawn, even though she sleeps on the floor outside it. Coffee, she says through the wood. Black. No sugar, I reply. My voice sounds rusty. I have not used it much in weeks. But it is mine. She slides the mug onto the tray outside the door. I wait until her footsteps retreat before I open it. The steam rises in the cold air. It smells like roasted beans and safety. I drink it sitting on the edge of the bed. It is the only thing that tastes like anything anymore. Today I finished the cup. I placed it on the tray. I opened the door. Morgan was sitting on the floor, her back against the wall, eyes closed. She looked up when the door creaked. He saw the empty cup. For a moment neither of us moved. Then the corner of her mouth twitched. Not a smile. Not yet. But an acknowledgement. Thank you, she said. I did not say you're welcome. I closed the door. But I did not lock it. That is new. The lock is still there. The mechanism still works. But I did not turn the key. I left it open. A crack in the armor. An invitation perhaps. Or just exhaustion. I dressed in soft clothes today. Not the navy suit. Not the armor. Cashmere. Gray. Soft. I walked downstairs. Morgan was in the kitchen. She was making toast. She turned when she heard me. I made breakfast, she said. He sounded hopeful. Careful. Like she was walking on glass. I will eat, I said. She froze. The knife in her hand stopped moving. Hey. Okay, good. I sat at the table. She placed the plate in front of me. 2 slices. Buttered. Cut diagonally. Just how I like it. She remembered. I picked up a slice. I took a bite. It was dry. But I chewed. I swallowed. Morgan sat across from me. She did not speak. He did not watch me eat. She looked at her own hands. She was giving me space. That is new too. Before she would have hovered. She would have demanded praise. Now she just exists. Quietly. Why are you still here? I asked. The question hung in the air. I did not mean it cruelly. I genuinely wanted to know. Morgan looked up. Her eyes were tired. But clear. I told you. I am not leaving. You could. I am not forcing you. I know. She took a breath. I am in therapy. I paused. The toast was halfway to my mouth. You are. Yes. 3 times a week. Dr. Evans. He specializes in harmful behaviors. Obsession. Narcissism. She listed the words like diagnoses. I am trying to understand why I did what I did. Not to excuse it, but to make sure I never do it again. To anyone. Especially you. I put the toast down. And I am learning that revenge is a poison you drink hoping the other person dies. She looked at me. I was dying, Vivian. Even before you tried to, even before the hotel. I was already dead inside. I just didn't know it until I saw you trying to leave. I looked at her. Really looked at her. She looked different. The sharp edges were softened. The arrogance was gone. She looked humble. Broken like me. I am going to therapy too, I said quietly. I know. Maya told me. Maya talks to you? She's worried about you. She knows I am trying. Morgan hesitated. She agreed to meet with us. Today. If you want. My stomach tightened. My protector. The one who warned me. The one I pushed away. I do not know if I am ready. We do not have to talk about us, Morgan said quickly. Just truths. About the past. About the park. I need you to know something. And I need to hear something from you. Thought about the park. The dandelion. The girl with curly hair. The memory that had started this war. Hey, I said. Today. Morgan nodded. She stood up. She cleared the plates. Her hands were steady. Thank you, she said again. I watched her walk away. I finished the second slice of toast. Tasted like bread. Just bread. But for the first time in months I was not eating to survive. I was eating because I was hungry. Morgan arrived at Maya's apartment 10 minutes early. She sat in her car staring at the building. Her hands were sweating. She wiped them on her jeans. Therapy had been hard. Dr. Evans did not coddle her. He made her look at the ugliness of her actions. He made her see that her revenge was not justice. It was abuse. You wanted to hurt her because you were hurt, Dr. Evans had said. But hurting her did not heal you. It just made you a mirror of the pain you hated. Morgan had cried in every session. She had cried until she was empty. And then she had started to rebuild. Slowly. Brick by brick. He checked her watch. He got out of the car. He walked to the door. She knocked. Maya opened it. She looked at Morgan with cool eyes. There was no warmth there. Not yet. Maybe never. Come in, Maya said. The apartment was warm. Soft lights. Plants everywhere. It smelled like sage and tea. The opposite of Morgan's cold, sterile house. Vivian was already there. She was sitting on the couch holding a mug of tea. She looked small in the oversized sweater. She did not look up when Morgan entered. Morgan sat in the chair opposite them. She kept her hands visible. Non-threatening. Thank you for doing this, Morgan said to Maya. I am not doing this for you, Maya said sharply. I am doing this for her. She gestured to Vivian. I know. Maya sat beside Vivian. She put a hand on Vivian's arm. A grounding touch. Vivian leaned into it just slightly. We are here to talk about the past, Maya said. Specifically the park. 20 years ago. Morgan nodded. I need to know, why were you so cold, Vivian? I know you were 7. But, it haunted me. I built my entire life around that moment. Vivian looked at her hands. Her voice was quiet. My mother left that week. Morgan froze. What? She packed a bag and walked out. He told me she was going to the store. She never came back. Vivian's voice did not tremble. It was flat. Factual. My father was absent. Or drinking. I was alone in the house for 3 days before anyone noticed. Morgan felt sick. She had imagined Vivian as a privileged, cruel child. A little queen who thought she was better than everyone. I was scared, Vivian continued. A girl came up to me. She wanted to make a wish. She wanted to be friends. Vivian looked up. Her eyes met Morgan's. I thought, if I let you in you would leave too. Everyone leaves. So I pushed you away. To protect myself. Morgan's breath caught in her throat. I thought you hated me. I did not know you. Vivian looked down again. I did not know anyone. I was just surviving. Morgan felt tears prick her eyes. She had spent 20 years hating a ghost. She had punished Vivian for a crime she did not commit. She had punished her for surviving trauma the only way she knew how. I am sorry, Morgan whispered. I am so sorry. It is in the past, Vivian said. It is not, Morgan insisted. I used it to hurt you. I twisted your pain into my weapon. That is unforgivable. Maya watched them. Her expression softened just a fraction. She is right, Vivian. It is not just in the past. It affects now. Vivian was silent for a long time. The clock on the wall ticked. Loud. Slow. I know, Vivian said finally. The room felt heavy. The truth hung in the air like smoke. I had never told anyone about my mother. Not really. I told people she died. It was easier. Death is final. Abandonment is a question that never gets answered. Morgan looked at me like she was